So, L'Oréal, you have over 50 brands globally across various categories. It is obviously a huge enterprise to even set up and think about measurement. Um, how have you developed measurement and marketing effectiveness as a competitive advantage for L'Oréal?
It's true that indeed we have, managing 50 plus global brands, creates a challenge that very few, brands and organizations face. And it was exactly because of that, size and scale that pushed us to create something truly differentiated within the organization. So at our scale, it's not marketing measurement performance that is the challenge. The challenge is delivering it at speed and consistency across all the different markets that we're operating. So we took that challenge on and we created our marketing effectiveness program that is based on a number of principles. Principle number one is utilizing a complementary toolkit. Principle number two is creating the right process and, having a consistent, unified model across the whole organization. And number three is, creating that culture of marketing effectiveness by building, a lot on people. And I can tap on each of them in particularly. So with regards to the measurement tools, we are saying we're utilizing a complementary toolkit with marketing mix models, with MMM deep dives. We're utilizing a lot of brand lift studies, experiments. We run a lot of experiments with the different platforms. And thousands of brand lift studies, to say a few, conversion lift studies, consumer mix. So we're really trying to tap on all the different tools that are available for companies of FMCG companies. At the same time, we clarified the process and we put a process in place that is consistent across the globe. And last but not least is what I said earlier is about creating, investing in people. So we create marketing effectiveness experts who are there to, make that vision and that ambition a reality. People who are connecting the dots between measurement and business insights and actionability. So it's that combination of, people, process, consistency, and, complementary toolkit that I believe has helped us create something very sophisticated and ultimately leading to that competitive advantage.
I love, Vas, that you talk so much about people and process, because rarely is it the data and technology that holds organizations back. Of course, you need a good data foundation. You need, good tech to scale. But ultimately, that alignment at the human level to make sure that you can bring that intelligence layer through the organization is what matters most. As we reflect on the opportunity that we have to be partners with L'Oréal and to support you globally across the more than 50 brands that you have in the marketplace and give visibility into the signals of performance and optimization and impact. A lot of the value exchange that happens within that model is because you can scale through the process side of it, right? And as we reflect on where we can push the industry together, where you can push the Cirana team to, move faster, to continue to kind of iterate and work the experimentation models. We feel great about that technology layer, but to bring it to life, you need to make sure that you can ingest it and scale it through the team. And that is something that, again, takes a lot of consistency within building out teams and building out frameworks. You really move from reporting as an analytic function and into a business intelligence, strategic
insights.
Exactly. Strategic insights and a business intelligence amplifier for the organization. And that's clearly when you bring, organizations together and what you're doing within your organization to scale this insight layer. So we're proud to partner with you and the team and support you on that initiative.
And talking about things that are challenging, but I think we do really well together. Let's talk a little bit about creative, or obviously the Festival of Creativity. I think that L'Oréal has been really, really inspiring in the way that you think about really understanding the true impact of creative. Vas, would you share a little bit with marketers out there?
Of course, and we are in Cannes. You can not have a question about content in Cannes, of course. And it's true you said that it's one of the it's true that measuring content, which is something incredibly subjective, can be quite challenging. However, thanks to you guys and to the support we have from our different publishers, we've run a lot of meta-analysis around what are the different creative drivers and what is the impact of creative on the ROI. And I'm very glad to say that we also found, aligned very much with the industry learnings, that, creative drives about 40 to 50% of the total ROI across different platforms. So it's something that we've been tracking, the industry has been tracking for the last few years. So we are also very happy to partner with you, create something truly unique and innovative. But we, of course, we are trying to understand content and creative, its effectiveness and ROI with our marketing mix models. So we're looking at, campaign ROIs, we're looking at copy durations, we're looking at, celebrity versus non-celebrity within the different creative. So we're trying to understand the different factors within the different creative, activations. And more recently, as you may have seen, we recently published a paper with Meta around boosted creator content and its effectiveness and ROI. And in fact, partnering with you has helped us understand, the combination of both branded and creator content can drive up to 35% improved ROI. So it's a tough topic, but, we still have a lot of learnings and we continuously studying the topic as we speak.
Thank you. And I think a lot of the way that you approach creative is really about providing guidelines to L'Oréal's teams to invest and think about creative in a smarter way. Obviously, being smarter can mean different things, right? And being successful means different things. At Cirana, we're obviously very focused on driving success for our clients, which also means, performance. We want our clients' brands to perform really well. Creative is so much associated with brand equity. I would really like to talk a little bit about how we're combining thinking about creative in light of short-term performance versus long-term performance. Kara, would you share some thoughts?
The thousands of experiments that have to always be on, like the tuning of that learning, right, to come in and create a framework, right, that the organization can learn from continuously is really a powerful element. Short-term, long-term, brand equity, all these different elements at play. What does a dollar invested drive for a business is a big, broad question. And there's no doubt that there are many organizations that do fall into a short-term ROI trap and get stuck within that kind of essence. And the work that L'Oréal's done to associate brand equity, scaling brand equity and the power of the business impact and dollars invested from the connection with culture and connectivity and commerce and what happens within what you're learning in the influencer space as well. I love all of that, Vas. I think one of the best examples of what we've continued to do together to innovate within this space is really about kind of pausing and thinking about modern marketing effectiveness and the work that we did together alongside Google, alongside Professor Dr. Mella at Duke University, and bringing together this kind of modern lens where we could look at short-term measurement, short-term impact, long-term impact, attitudinal measurement, but really blurring and blending performance and equity together. And those are really critical aspects. And that's where, as we think about the work that we do and that intentional, learning journey, learning agenda that we have, always on, there's no doubt that the dollars invested can absolutely and do absolutely play a role long-term for brand building. When we look holistically across all the brands that we've done work with, we also think and recognize the role of consistency. You talked about consistency too. From a brand building standpoint, it only takes about 4 weeks for equity erosion and sales erosion to take shape when brands tune down materially. the investment layer of how they look to kind of associate themselves from a marketing perspective. So 4 weeks and you start to lose equity. It takes typically we see anywhere from 6 to 13 weeks for brands marketing kind of playbook to really drive a material impact for a brand over time. But these are all learnings that we get to continually have together, really, and that's creating a framework for intelligence that that you can take around the world. So I love the question, Emma, because it is really critical. It isn't just about short-term ROI. It needs to balance and blend short-term, long-term, the attitudinal layer, the human connection of what marketing unlocks as well.
Absolutely. And I think, again, you've done at L'Oréal a tremendous job building a real framework to make the two work. Do you want to share a little bit about
Sure.
your approach?
So it's great hearing you, Kara, talking about the long term and the importance of it in building brands, especially at L'Oréal, like brand building. It's absolutely critical, and we have some of the world's largest and most powerful brands. So we've been very intentional about long-term brand building, but also long-term brand building and long-term measurement. So like most advertisers, we run our short-term MMMs, like with you or with other partners as well. So we have our short-term marketing mix models, which they give us a very good understanding of what's the impact in the short term, across the 50 plus beauty engagement touch points that we're activating on. At the same time, as Kara said, short term is just one side of the coin. You really need to understand the impact that your communications and the different touch points have in the longer term. So we're talking about a horizon of 2 to 3 years down the line. So we've been very intentional partnering with Duke University, partnering with Google, and constantly partnering also with the different platforms and challenging the industry of innovating in innovative approaches on measuring the long term. So we are in a good place. And what we're trying to do once we have both our short-term ROIs and our long-term ROIs, we're also creating the long-term multipliers, which is a very standard industry, way to bring the two together, which gives you the full impact of both the short and the long-term across the different touch points. Now, the true impact comes from the fact that our long-term multipliers are integrated within our BetaIQ A&P optimization program. So when marketers are optimizing their A&P, they're optimizing for both the short and the long term. And we've been very intentional about it. And they only optimize about the short and the long term. So very intentional in terms of measurement and very intentional in terms of also activation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you have clear framework and guidelines for your team. And I think that's, again, the intentionality behind it, both kind of centralized but disseminated around the world to bring that scale that's very unique to your business in lots of ways, right? Now we've talked a lot about data and evidence-based decisions, etc. I don't think that we could have any conversation in 2026 that doesn't at some point talk about AI. So that would be the logical next question, right? How do you make sure that the human elements, the intuition, what makes your marketers amazing at L'Oréal around the world, how does that not get lost in a world that's so AI powered?
So AI and maybe so data-driven powered, right? It is a great question, and I love that question. But let's take a little bit of a step back and think that, L'Oréal is founded by a scientist, Eugene Schuller, 115 years ago. So it is in our DNA to be science-based. It's in our DNA to be empirical. It is in our DNA to be rigorous and data-driven. But at the same time, the DNA has two helixes. So at the same time, beauty, it's all about emotion. It's about feeling. It's about aspiration. It's about self-expression. And, the purpose of the company is create the beauty that moves the world. So we're operating within these two helix, let's say. One is both science, evidence, and data, and at the same time being completely human-centric, being, operate around emotion and feelings. And measurement is also operating in a very similar way. So our marketing effectiveness program is, of course, very much AI based, it's data driven based. There's a lot of science behind it, but at the same time, what we're seeing is we are utilizing all those insights and we're empowering our marketeers to be more data augmented and make more data augmented decision making. So at the end of the day, it is what we say in, the purpose is creating the beauty that moves the world, but at the same time having a very rigorous and data-driven, data-augmented and scientific approach to it.
Yeah, and effectively not pitting one against each other, but really how does one augment the other? I really like the term, data augmented.
Data augmented, not data-driven. But we've been very intentional about it as well.
Oh, I love that.
Kara?
Well, creating beauty to move the world is a powerful statement. It really is a powerful statement. Emma, this is a phenomenal question, not just because we're at Cannes and not just because it's 2026. And this is, listen, the power of data, intelligence, system thinking, decision making, the automation layer that comes in, all of that is not in conflict to human intuition. It's an enabler. So when you talk about that augmentation, I completely agree, that enhancement. I completely agree. So I do think it's important, especially within where we are in this industry, to recognize that, that tech, data, AI, and human intuition, they're just not in conflict of one another. They really kind of support one another as you go through. Think about the criticality of strong technology and processes to simply enable scale. Think about the value and influence and importance for AI to really see patterns and the influence of how those patterns can come together to provide different recognition on different outcomes and influences that we can then take action on. All of those really anchor in what's going on, right? It is anchoring in what's going on, but not why. And that's where human intuition does play a role, a really critical role. So I do think it's important to think about these in complement of one another, supporting a dynamic and kind of a fabric to help organizations really have high confidence in decision making. At the end of the day, on the marketing effectiveness kind of element, our goal isn't just to report faster and automate decisions on that marketing angle. It really is about creating a culture and connection of confidence in investment choices to the future. But all three of those have to come in play for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I love the intentionality behind it and the way we're thinking about this. I would like to know a little bit, maybe as a closing question, what is it that actually keeps you up at night, each of you?
Listen, there's two core things that always are on my mind, time and talent. Right, with the speed of change that's happening in this industry, so much happening at any given time, making sure that from a talent standpoint, we're developing talent, we're thinking forward, we're thinking for the future in the right way to support, our people. And then by nature of supporting our people, we support our clients in the right way. So that is an angle that's always omnipresent in my mind. Time gets also back into, speed of change and just making sure that we are always kind of at the edge of change and influencing change. This is a space where we do know that there's continuous tension on speed and accuracy that always takes shape with respect to dollars invested. And at the end of the day, the feedback loops really matter. And so these are spaces that are really mindful for us at Cirana as we think about continually investing behind enabling our business partners to have the right information with the right signals so they can take action in the right way.
Vas, what's keeping you up at night?
Nothing keeps me up at night because I absolutely need my beauty sleep.
Apart from the music.
But when I wake up in the morning on the treadmill, there is a few things that, of course, we are reflecting on. AI is one of them, as Kara mentioned, and you mentioned it as well. So what is the role that AI is going to play across the whole end-to-end process? And I believe we are at the tip. We are seeing the tip of the iceberg. And, we were here a year ago talking about how AI is going to augment everything. And like a year later, the change is real. So really looking forward to everything that's going to come up until, in the next 12 months. So one is the AI, of course. The other is customer acquisition, which is, it's not as easy as it sounds, like customer acquisition measurement. So do we have the right tools? Do we have the right data to actually measured consistently across the globe. Channel fragmentation. So there's a lot of talk about constant channel fragmentation. So there's new formats, new channels, and sometimes measurement is not really catching up. Maybe not so much that measurement is not, it's the data availability that may be missing so that we cannot truly measure the incrementality of it. And retail media, which I believe it's one of the highest growing channel and one of the most accelerated channel, but do we have, as an industry, really understood the effectiveness of it? Have we put all the dots together? I think there is a very exciting space in the future for retail media measurement. So that's a few of the topics, that I think, keeps us excited from a measurement perspective.
It's the need to create a stronger connective tissue effectively that I think can really empower a next step of measurement development on your side. And maybe I'll let Kara talk a little bit about that because there's so much going on at Cirana at the moment.
Yeah, well, the rate of change and what AI is going to drive, no doubt, influences the time component of what we talked about just a few minutes back. So there's no doubt that will change. It'll change kind of system thinking practically, right? As the algorithms are making different choices and influence, but there's also the measurement component to then really understand the effectiveness of all those different choices. I love that you brought up retail media. There's no doubt. I do have a soft spot in my heart for that with history that I've had specifically in that space. And one of the biggest challenges is around measurement and the inconsistency of measurement today, retailer by retailer around the world. And this is a space that we believe Cirana has a real right to influence scalably the industry and drive continuity and consistency in measurement standards within the retail ecosystem. And retailers are I'd say cautiously optimistic with the recognition of that does need to change, otherwise the slope of growth will decelerate. And in the end, this is about driving confidence for every dollar impacted that's moving through the cycle and making sure that all retailers and brands understand the efficacy of that channel. I do believe in retail signals. I do believe retail signals are powerful components to influence investment, and there is a trust problem within retail media today and performance. And so we'll continue partnering together on that and look to bring some new visibility options and intelligence into the ecosystem here soon.
Great. Very excited about it.
Thank you so much to both of you.